US 24. Yeah. Alright, this is quite a road. This is one near to my heart. We're talking US 24 because it's heading toward Detroit, where the Chiefs will be taking on the Lions. And maybe at Arrowhead, but it heads by there too. This is an awesome road that part of it used to be known as 40 North and South way back in the day. Let's take a look at the route. US 24 is heading from Minturn, Colorado, up to roundabout Pontiac, Michigan, in the Detroit suburbs. Used to go to Grand Junction, but that was truncated in 1975. Today we are talking only about eastbound US 24. Here we are on I-70 in Colorado, one of the finest interstates in the country, and we have our exit for US 6 and US 24. We've seen this US 6 exit before. You can check that out right over there. We are signed for Minturn and Leadville. Coming the other way on I-70, Minturn and Leadville, and Aspen, they're telling you to go straight here. They don't mention Aspen going in the other direction. Once we exit, and this is from the more distant westbound ramp, we see US 6 turn left and US 24 turn right. This is an old picture of mine. I don't know exactly where I took it, but I'm pretty sure it is at the start of US 24, taken back in 1998 or so. I was surprised US 24 ended right there at that random spot, so I got off to take a picture. Get our first mileage sign, Minturn 2 miles away, Red Cliff and Leadville as our main control at 33 miles away. You're watching Control City Freak. This is the YouTube channel where we talk about highways and the places that they're signed to go to. If you dig this kind of content, why not give us a like? And if you really like it, why not subscribe? Yeah, subscribe. Continuing toward Minturn, we are kind of above Minturn right now. That's it just below us to the left. And just to the left there is the Eagle River, which is what they built this road along when they originally made it, at least this portion. We make this giant hairpin curve in this mountain, going up this mountain, although technically we are still within the city limits of Minturn here. We now cross the Eagle River on this amazing bridge, beautiful looking bridge here. A ways away we get to Leadville, which is 10,152 feet, and this is right around where the Continental Divide is. Maybe not in Leadville, but near here. Right here in Leadville, we are signed East 24, although US 24 in this part is going almost due west, so that's interesting. And here's what it looks like in downtown Leadville, kind of Old West looking, not surprising. I couldn't find any control cities in Leadville proper, but when Colorado 82 meets 24, we see Leadville and Buena Vista, so Buena Vista is our next control city. Right here, amazingly, is the Arkansas River, this little creek here. We are right around the headwaters of the Arkansas River, or the Arkansas River, and here we enter the city limits of Buena Vista. A couple thousand feet down from Leadville now. Coming out of Buena Vista, we are going to be concurrent with US 285, and southbound 285 for Salida, eastbound 24 for Colorado Springs, and northbound 285 for Denver. And we get a pretty cool mileage sign here, Fairplay, then Denver and Colorado Springs, both on the map. And here's some more nice rural US 24 headed through the mountains of Colorado. We're splitting with 285. 285 not signed for Denver this time around, they're signed for Fairplay. I don't know if that's Fairplay. And we are signed for Colorado Springs, so that is Fairplay. On our next mileage sign, we're getting Hartselle, 12 miles away, Colorado Springs, 77. Coming out of Hartselle, now we are getting Lake George, 27 miles away, and Colorado Springs, 66. As we pass right by Lake George, we get the sign for Camp Alexander, which I went to when I was 12. It was basically the first time I was ever west of Topeka, because I only went to Abilene once. Amazingly, we have street view of the inside of Camp Alexander's mess hall. Announcements, announcements, announcements. A terrible way to die, a terrible way to die. Terrible way to talk to death, the terrible way to die. If you know, you know. Right around this area, we are passing by Pikes Peak, or I assume that is Pikes Peak. It was a little hard to figure out exactly which mountain I was looking at here. And now we are in Woodland Park, which is decidedly within suburban Colorado Springs. And we see we are still signed for Colorado Springs. Manitou Springs, now 4 miles away, Colorado Springs, 7. Right here we get 24 Business, and this is also the exit for Garden of the Gods, which I visited when we were going to Camp Alexander. And Colorado Springs City Limit, by far the biggest city we've hit so far, and the biggest we'll hit for a while. We're meeting and joining I-25. We see 25 North Denver and 25 South Pueblo, along with 24 East. Right as we get onto the freeway, we can see the downtown skyline, such as it is, of Colorado Springs. And before long, we get 24 East. Yep, you knew it was coming, I knew it was coming. Lyman. Yeah. Should we be signing Lyman here? Well, at random interchanges along this, because 24 is something of a freeway, we are still getting Lyman signed there, so they're committed to it. Is that what we should be doing? Well, if we look at the 24 freeway coming off of I-25, it looks like it is the fastest way to the Colorado Springs Airport. Now, Colorado Springs Airport is far from a major hub, but I'm sure there is a whole lot more people going there than are going to Lyman. So why not sign 24 at this point for Colorado Springs Airport? On Powers Boulevard, heading north from the airport area, and we are turning off to stay on once again, and we're getting 24 East Lyman. And here's the first, guys. At this point, I think signing Lyman is just fine. There's nothing out there, and we are a US highway, so it doesn't make sense to sign as far away as Kansas from here. Heading out of Colorado Springs, our mileage sign, we get Falcon, Calhan, and Lyman. And we can see the road between Colorado Springs and Lyman is pretty empty. I remember being on the bus from Boy Scouts doing that. That was the first time I was ever in Lyman. Wow, what an experience that was. We're meeting I-70 in Lyman, and we're getting 70 business to Colorado 71, Lyman Business District. But they're not mentioning the 3 US highways here just yet. A little further down, we are getting the East 24, East 40, and South 287. We didn't get any signs for the other directions of those roads, which is another problem with Lyman. Not only is it annoying that they sign it so much, but within the city of it, they do such a bad job signing the roads that are there. And here we go, Lyman city limit. And we are also meeting Colorado 71. And this was requested by olympianproduct, our favorite control city. And he said for the last time, but then realized I'll be doing 287. And he said, unless I'm planning on doing Colorado 71. No, I'm not going to be doing Colorado 71. Thank you for that request. olympianproduct requested that with a $5 super sticker or super thanks, as anybody can do in any episode for future episodes. I've got quite a few coming up. At the time of this filming, I'm not sure what I'll be working on by the time you guys see this, but you can check the description of this video or the post section of the channel to see what is available for requests. And I appreciate everybody who does those. We've also got a Patreon going, and I keep the Patreons up to date on what roads will be coming and what are closed for requests as well. If you're a Patreon member, you get one free or more requests per month, depending on the level of your subscription. And I thank all of you who do that as well. And you watching right now. Yeah, why not subscribe? Right here is off of US 24. Looking to the right, and this was requested by Andrew Devore because Southbound E Avenue down downtown Lyman is the town hall of his favorite town. So thank you for that request. We're getting some rare signage here in Lyman, East 24, East 40, and South 287, and we'll be here again soon when we cover 287. Here's a look at the mileage sign we see just beyond that. Hugo 15 miles away because that's where 40 and 287 are going. Burlington because that's where I-70 and US 24 are going. We meet I-70 for the second time and we get no control city, just as we always don't in Lyman. And we also get no mention of which way any US highway is going. Although it doesn't matter if you get on eastbound 70 or you go straight because it's all the same because of these weird 2 interchanges. And here is the second pointless exit in Lyman. I still have no idea why there's 2 like this. This time around, again, we are getting no sign. Even though the US highways are splitting up here, 40 and 287 are going straight and 24 is joining 70. You'd think they'd tell us that, but they do not, of course, nor do they give us any control cities. Lyman. And on eastbound I-70, we get no US 24 indication either. We just get an East 70 shield, as they always do in Colorado. Our first mileage sign outside of Lyman is Genoa, 8 miles away. They've got all these little towns that are all 8 to 10 miles away along the way between Lyman and Burlington, I guess as far as a wagon can travel in a day. Then Burlington 73 and Hayes 244. Wow, that seems really far for Hayes. We're meeting US 385 in Burlington, which is why I'm showing you this, because it is a US highway junction. And outside of Burlington, we get no mileage sign between Burlington and Kansas because Colorado knows there's no more Colorado cities at all, and they don't want to bother signing anything in Kansas if they can avoid it. So pretty provincial there, Colorado. This is not the main Kansas welcome sign, but I kind of like this one better anyway because we cross under this bridge. That is the state line, that bridge right there. Free coffee at the soon-to-come-up service plaza, at the soon-to-come-up welcome center. Once we're in Kansas, we are getting Goodland, Colby, and Hays as our control city. Hays, the primary one for I-70 at this point. Once we're in Kansas, Hays is 157 miles a long way to sign Hays. I don't know. It's tough there. May as well sign something a little bigger, but yeah, it's tough. Colby is US 24's point of interest. Here is our exit for US 24 before we get to Colby. Colby not signed here because there's another exit that's closer for Colby, but they don't sign Levant either. We're just getting County 11 Road. 24 is turning left here. Levant will be there pretty immediately. Colby a bit further down. And here's our sign, Colby 8 miles away. Here we are in downtown Colby. It is a pretty sleepy looking town out on the high plains. And coming out of Colby, we are getting US 83 and then Hozee as our control city. US 24, formerly 40 north in these parts up until we get to Manhattan, Topeka, Kansas City, is pretty desolate in these parts, and so is US 83 kind of for its whole run. So this is a desolate corner here. After meeting US 83, we're getting Hozee 24 and skipping ahead to Hill City, the next city beyond there. So we skipped ahead to Hill City also because there's no US highways in Hozee. We are meeting US 283 in Hill City here. Coming out of Hill City, we are getting K18, 8 miles away, a state highway, being a control city, wow, and Stockton 31. In downtown Stockton, we get a stoplight, and we also meet US 183, which will take you to Hays if you turn right. Woodston and Osborne are the control cities coming out of Stockton. Just north of Osborne, we are meeting US 281, and we are going to turn left to become concurrent with northbound 281. So now we're signed for Beloit there. Our split with US 281 shortly thereafter, and we see 281 signed for Smith Center. We are signed for Beloit. And along the way, we're getting Downs, Cawker City, and Beloit on our mileage sign, a 3-city mileage sign. Cawker City, really just known for one thing. We want to see the biggest ball of twine. I always thought this biggest ball of twine was in Minnesota. Apparently they argue. But yeah, Cawker City, right here on US 24, biggest ball of twine. This is Wakanda Springs here. We're actually passing by some water. Definitely a rarity in these parts. We're in Beloit, and State Highway 9 leaves us. It's going more or less straight to the east, and we're going to curve back south a bit. So it's signed for Concordia. We are now signed for Clay Center. And we get another 3 by mileage sign, and US 81 thrown on there as a secondary, 24 miles away. Wow. Clay Center, 53. US 81 is still a freeway at this point, and we can see it head south to Salina. It'll become I-135 before it does that, and Concordia to the north. After Clay Center, we are getting signs for Manhattan, 37 miles away. They could have signed Manhattan for quite a distance before this if they wanted to, but I'm kind of glad they don't. Near Manhattan, we are merging with US 77, and we will be turning left to continue toward Manhattan. We aren't together for very long though. We are going to turn right. US 77 is going to head north on its own. We're meeting K113, and K113 is signed for Manhattan. It's the faster way into downtown Manhattan from here, but we will get to Manhattan as well, and we're signed for K13 ahead. On the edge of Manhattan, we're meeting Bluemont Avenue, and that will take you into Aggieville, which is kind of the college bar district of Manhattan. I only went there once when I was a little kid before going to a K-State basketball game when they opened Bramlage Coliseum. I'm also shocked there's an Olive Garden in Manhattan. There's no Olive Garden in Lawrence. Lawrence is way bigger. We're meeting K177. That will take you to I-70. We are going to turn left away from that. I couldn't find any control cities in Manhattan for US 24, so on 177 heading toward US 24, we see Clay Center is signed one way, and Topeka is going to be our eastbound control city. I feel like they should probably sign Wamego because Topeka is easier reached by going down to I-70 at that point, but I'm gonna skip ahead to Topeka. It's a long enough episode, I'll take it. So here's US 75, South Topeka, US 75 North Holton. From US 75's perspective, we are getting 24 East Lawrence and 24 West Manhattan. So Lawrence, finally on the map. Meet Topeka Boulevard in North Topeka, and that'll take you into downtown Topeka after crossing the river. And here is K4 West, the Oakland Expressway, which will take you to the Kansas Turnpike. I rarely took 24 from Topeka to Lawrence because it's not the faster way, and I'm never in North Topeka, but from Perry Lake to Lawrence, I've taken it a lot of times. Here's where I would have turned off on the way. Perry Lake is pretty cool. Pass right by Perry-Lecompton High School to the right there, and you turn here for the provincial capital of Kansas in Lecompton. Lecompton were the bad guys. They were the Missourian pro-slavery capital, whereas Lawrence, we were the good guys. This also becomes Douglas County 1029 after you cross the river to the south of here. Turn left for US 59 for Oskaloosa, and straight ahead is 5924 for Lawrence. This right here is known as Midland Junction. If you take that county road to the left there, you'll get to McLouth, or that area. We continue down this curve toward Lawrence. We're reaching TP Junction, seen in my US 40 video, which you can check out right over there. Lawrence, straight ahead. We aren't actually to the Lawrence city limits yet. Kansas City, turn left, which is what we're going to be doing. Here's a closer look at the signs. So 40 and 59 head into Lawrence, 24 and 40 skirt around it to the left. Our first mileage sign after TP Junction is Tonganoxie 9, Kansas City 20. And Kansas City is a fine control city to have over here, I think, because it's a good toll-free route to get over there. Here is the large curve in Tonganoxie when we become State Avenue and head due east into Kansas City. US 24 and 40 used to stay on State all the way into Kansas City, Kansas, but now they exit onto K7 and US 73, the most ignored US highway. Sign now for Bonner Springs and Olathe. Bonner Springs K7 meets with I-70. 24 and 40 are going to be getting on I-70 and following along with I-70 throughout the Kansas City metro area. Just for a quick rundown, since it's been a while since I did I-70, here is 435 on the Kansas side, and I did an episode about that. You can check that out right over there. A little further in, we are meeting 635, and I'll do a 635 episode one day. We're meeting North US 69 and South 169. 169 is actually going to be joining us here. This is also where 670 splits off. And right now here, we're getting East 70, East 24, East 40 for St. Louis. One lane as we head toward the Lewis and Clark Viaduct. 169's here too, but they don't mention it. Once we're on the bridge over the Kansas River, we can see the Kansas City skyline there in the background. We are on 70, 24, 40, and 169. We cross into Missouri, and we get this currently closed South 35 Wichita exit, East 70, 24, and 40, and 169 north. When we are beyond I-35 and we are in the downtown Alphabet Loop, we see 169 North, Broadway, and downtown, this next exit. And here's a quick view of the Kansas City skyline from the north part of the loop. We get North 29 and 35 and US 71 leaving us here as we curve to the right for 70, 24, 40 East and South 71. Here's another good view of the Kansas City skyline from the East Loop. And we see this is 71. It will be 49, signed for Joplin. We are 70, 24 East St. Louis. 40 leaves us before we get to US 24 and 435, and we are getting North 435 Des Moines along with East 40. So this is a convoluted route for US 24 for sure. Going north on 435, we are now getting 24 East Winter Road, Independence Avenue. Independence Avenue used to be 24. It's only recently that they've moved it onto this indirect freeway route. Heading off of that ramp, we see Independence and the Truman Library will be our next control cities. Independence is a pretty large suburb, so that works for Control City here. Here is the Harry Truman Library. We passed right by it on US 24. We're meeting the outer loop of Kansas City, State Route 291. From 291's perspective, 24 is signed for Independence, which we are now east of, and Lexington. So Lexington is our next control city. We meet Missouri 7, which is sort of the outermost fringe of the Kansas City metro, signed for Blue Springs. And we get a nice mileage sign here, Buckner, Lexington, and Carrollton. Missouri 13 is one of the longer ones in Missouri, and right here is for Southbound Missouri 13. It'll head down to Springfield eventually. And from 13's perspective, we are signed Lexington and Waverly, so Waverly would be our next control city. Right around Waverly, we meet US 65. Did an episode about US 65. You can check that out right over there pretty recently. And we will be concurrent with US 65 now. We cross over the Missouri River with US 65. And now we exit, and we are signed for Carrollton and Moberly. Carrollton is kind of right where we're at. It's the other way on that overpass. Moberly is our new control city. Coming out of Moberly, we're getting DeWitt, Brunswick, and Quincy, Illinois, 143 miles away. Wow. Nice swing, MoDOT. That does not hold up. In Moberly, we're meeting US 63. I'm not going to show you where Southbound US 63 is signed for. And coming out of Moberly, now we're getting Madison, Paris, and Palmyra. We probably should have been signed for Monroe City, and in Monroe City we are meeting US 36 and good old 110, the CKC, so we are joining eastbound 36 at this point. 36 is oftentimes a freeway or an expressway across Missouri, and we're getting 24 East Palmyra. Very shortly after meeting US 36, we are going to be meeting US 61. Quincy is not far away. We're going to be joining northbound US 61. Did an episode about that, but I think I'm out of links, so I can't point you that way. With US 61, we are getting signed for Taylor, Canton, and Keokuk, Iowa. Keokuk for US 61. Don't know why we're not getting Quincy here. East 24 is almost kind of the main line here, since we're in the left lane, so we are signed for Quincy now. We're crossing over the old bridge into downtown Quincy, and that is the new bridge to our left that is carrying the westbound lanes. And we get Illinois state line right in the middle of this bridge over the Mississippi River. We get our proper Welcome to Illinois sign and a look at the buildings of downtown Quincy. Downtown Quincy looks pretty empty, but the buildings look fairly nice, and 24 is still straight. We're going to be turning left at 4th. And here is our turn left onto 4th Street. Here's Broadway, which is where the 24 westbound bridge is, and that also heads toward the Taco Bell that I ate at the one time I went to Quincy to pick up certain products that weren't allowed in Missouri at the time. Mount Sterling is now our bottom line control city as we head away from Quincy. We meet the northern edge of I-172, which is signed for Hannibal and Pittsfield, two huge cities for the end of 172, going either way on US 36 there. 336 continues north of 172 along the same road. Coming out of Mount Sterling, we are now signed for Ripley and Rushville. Pretty small towns, pretty close together in these parts. In Rushville, we are meeting US 67, and this was requested by Colin Boyle because of the 6-7 meme.
6-7.
Making reference to that, wow, that'll really impress my 6th grade class. So thank you so much for that request. Appreciate that. Coming out of Rushville, we're getting Astoria 15 miles away, and suddenly a fairly distant and famous control city with Peoria 72. I would say sign Peoria from Quincy, but there's actually a slightly better way to get there from Quincy, partly involving 24. We're meeting US 136. I did a video about 136 fairly recently, and we are joining that along with Illinois 100. When we split with 136, we are assigned for Lewistown. Peoria goes away. Macomb for 136. In Lewistown, we're going to be turning right, and we are going to be signed for Peoria once again. On the fringe of Peoria, the Peoria Metro, we're meeting 474, and we're joining 474. 474 east for Bloomington. Shortly after getting onto 474 and crossing the Illinois River, US 24 is now exiting and signed for East Peoria, and they make sure they put 24 on there twice, just like they did when we got on this road. We never get into Peoria proper, we're just in East Peoria, and along the way we're getting quite a nice sign salad here with state highways we're going to be meeting. In East Peoria, we meet US 150, and we will become concurrent with that as well. We also meet I-74 in East Peoria, I-74 signed for Bloomington, and Peoria the other way, which makes sense because we're not actually in Peoria, although it is very close to here. We're going to exit ourselves once again along with 150, and now we're signed for Peoria and Washington, but Peoria is not for us. This same interchange, 24 East Washington, is our new control city, and westbound 150 is looping around for Peoria. I couldn't find anything in Washington on 24 proper, but on 24 business coming from Washington, we see a split for 24 West Peoria, 24 East Eureka. So Eureka is our new control city. Probably should have been the control city coming out of Peoria to begin with. Here is Eureka, and Eureka, a rare sight out in the wild, an actual Pizza Hut that looks like a Pizza Hut still. Yeah, awesome. Coming out of Eureka, Chenoa is now our control city. We actually could start signing Fort Wayne pretty much out here, but I guess I see why they don't. 24 is not going to be that big for long distance traffic. In El Paso, we meet I-39, and I-39 US 51 signed north for Rockford. So that's the distant control city on I-39 in Illinois. They aren't signing at LaSalle, Peru, they're signing at Rockford. Southbound Bloomington Normal is the big control city for 39 as well. However, in Chenoa, I-55 is not getting its main control cities, it's getting secondaries, with North 55 Joliet, should never do, a suburb, and South 55 for Bloomington. After meeting I-55, we're signed for Fairbury and Watseka. Watseka is going to be one of the bigger burgs we've come across in Illinois. And I-57, we hit Gilman, And 57 also gets its minor controls with Kankakee and Champaign. Kankakee, they should never do Kankakee. It should always be northbound Chicago. And now we're back at a point where I've been on US 24 once again. So far, been on it at its very end in Minturn and in Lyman and Colorado Springs and Topeka to Kansas City and in Quincy. And now here's US 45, which parallels I-57 right after meeting that in Gilman. We're going to be joining US 45. I'm not going to bother with its control cities though. And when we split with US 45, we are assigned for Watseka straight ahead. Here is downtown Watseka. As I said, about 5,000 people, a little more substantial than anything we've seen since East Peoria. And in Watseka, we meet Illinois 1, and we are now signed for Sheldon. Illinois 1 southbound Hoopstown. Illinois 1 northbound was not signed for Chicago, even though it was in Danville, so that's pretty lame. They signed Sheldon there because it's the last city in Illinois. We see Sheldon 7, Kentland, Indiana 13. In Sheldon, we meet our old friend US 52. Did an episode about that, but again, I'm out of things to point to. Cross into Indiana, and we get this new More to Discover Indiana sign. Although, between May of 2024 and September of 2024, they slapped on that Benjamin Harrison and Lincoln's Boyhood Home extra signs there. So, when people might have forgotten about Benjamin Harrison if they hadn't put that there, we were really in danger of forgetting him. Who is he again? In Kentland, Indiana, we are meeting US 41. It's another one of these Nexus of the Universe intersections. And 24 is going straight. US 52 is leaving us, headed toward the right. US 41 in either direction. Hammond and Fowler. I feel like Fowler is a bad pick, but Hammond, it could be Chicago too. I guess Hammond's okay. We're assigned for Monticello, which is just fine in my book. Yet our first sign after that, we're getting Goodland 8, Fort Wayne 132. No mention of Monticello, so that's kind of weird. I've never heard of Goodland, and I've driven this road a lot of times. We're in Remington, and we are meeting and joining US 231 north for Rensselaer. It is signed for Lafayette. We're meeting I-65 just ahead, and before we get there, we pass by this Petro, and this was requested by Olympian Product because he has spent plenty of time there. So thank you for that request. From I-65's perspective, we're seeing 24 and 231 for Remington and Walcott. No mention of Monticello, even though this would be the Monticello exit from either direction on I-65. And Monticello, kind of major tourist town. Heading east now, we're getting Walcott 4 miles away, Monticello 24. Walcott's a pretty small town. Here is Walcott, where we briefly go north and south, and it's a nice leafy town. I do remember that about driving through. It is kind of nice looking with all the trees. And on the southern edge of Walcott, 231 is going to leave us and head for Lafayette. We are going to turn left, heading for Monticello. Here in the mighty one stoplight town of Chalmers, we are meeting 421 and Indiana 43. Indiana 43 will take you to Lafayette also. 421 is going to be joining us as we go straight. If you turn left, it'll take you to Monon and Indiana 16. We're meeting 6th Street on the western edge of Monticello. Lake Schaefer turn left, Lake Freeman goes straight. Those are the twin lakes of this region, although neither are real lakes, they are both reservoirs. And we see at 6th Street that we have our Indiana Beach turn left sign. So Indiana Beach, been there a million times when I was a kid. Awesome place to hang out. 24 will continue straight along with 421 toward downtown Monticello. Also, I didn't know this, apparently they moved the McDonald's. It's out here now, it's not downtown anymore. We're meeting State Route 39 and Railroad Road, and these roads no longer go through the heart of downtown Monticello. 421 is going to turn right along with 39. US 24 is turning left, so we don't go right to the corner of Broadway and Main. At Railroad in Washington, we are turning right along with 39. And here is Main Street, Monticello. This used to be 24, 421, but now it isn't, and we go straight past it. We cross the Tippecanoe River right here, although this might be considered Lake Freeman at this point as well. And now we split from Indiana 39, which is signed for North Judson, and we are signed for Logansport. So beyond here, I've actually never been on 24 beyond here anywhere. We meet US 35 outside of Logansport and East 24, South 35, Fort Wayne Kokomo. So we join this freeway. Business 24 takes you into downtown Logansport. 24 and 35 will get onto a different expressway and will be signed for the same cities as we turn left. And now 24 will split from 35, and we are signed for Fort Wayne, as we should be. Fort Wayne's on the bottom line at 77 miles away. Peru and Wabash are somewhat substantial towns, over 10,000 people. We're meeting US 31, signed north for South Bend and south for Indianapolis, so those are pretty good swings for 31. But it is more or less a freeway or expressway its entire run through northern Indiana. From 31's perspective, we're getting 24 east for Peru and Fort Wayne. After Wabash, we are getting Huntington and then Fort Wayne, and we are on something of a freeway-ish kind of thing now. We're meeting Indiana 9, and we're going to become concurrent with that, turning left for 24 east for Fort Wayne, outside Huntington. And now we're meeting Indiana 5, turn left. 224, I guess our child route, turns right. Indiana 5 will take you to the end of Indiana 16, very nearby, which they could mention on these signs, but it's Indiana 16, why bother? Coming near Fort Wayne, we get to 900 North, and this was requested by Boss King Inc. because he says it would make so much more sense if 24 turns right here. It links back up with 469 anyway, and it makes more sense than the route it does. So let's take a look at the map, and we see that 900 North, if it does turn right, you end up becoming 469, and 24 could still exit 469 where it does by going the other way around 469, and it is a shorter distance. So I do agree with you there, and thank you for that request. Further into Fort Wayne, we are getting to the village at Coventry, and this was requested by John's channel because they have the nicest Kroger in town, and it's where the WOWO radio station is now. Happy 100 to WOWO. So thank you for that request. We're meeting I-69 along with US 33 and 33 North. 24 East are going to be heading toward Lansing briefly. Now we're meeting US 30. 33 leaves us here. 30 is going to be joining us on I-69. We also meet US 27. This is the very northernmost point of US 27. On the northern end of Fort Wayne, we are meeting 469, and 24 and 30 are going to follow 469. So Indiana doesn't just do this with its famous 465 and all the US highways. They kind of get rid of US highways inside of all the cities, other than a select few. 469, we are getting 24 East Rose Avenue. They are not giving us a control city, but they should, and it should be Toledo. This is the Loves at Woodburn, Indiana. This was requested by olympianproduct because he has spent plenty of time there. So thank you for that request. We see right around here we are assigned for Defiance, and they are kind of defying signing Toledo, which would be the smart thing to do. Defiance is in Ohio too. It's not like it's the last city in Indiana. And welcome to Ohio, the heart of it all. They do put a nice overhead sign on it over 24. And 24, as I say, it is basically a freeway between Fort Wayne and Toledo. In Antwerp, Ohio, on Old 24, just off of current Freeway 24, now known as County Road 24, we've got the root beer stand. This was requested by John's channel because his parents and grandparents used to take him there in the 90s when he was a kid, and it was known as the A&W root beer stand then. And looks pretty good, looks like my kind of spot. If I'm ever in Antwerp, Ohio, that'd be where I'd go. And thank you for that request. Meeting US 127, which is signed for Sherwood and Paulding, and I feel like they could do better than that. Toledo is the bottom line city here. We're getting Defiance and Napoleon coming up along the way. In Napoleon, we are meeting US 6 once again. We met it in Colorado, and now we meet it again in Indiana, quite far apart from each other. I love that 6 West signed Kendallville and Chicago, 6 and 24 East for Bowling Green and Maumee. Why not Toledo? No idea. Eastbound US 6 exits us, and it's signed for Bowling Green. We are now signed for Maumee and Toledo, and if we're going to be signed for both, why was Toledo not in the other one instead of a suburb of Toledo? Maumee is now 22 miles away, Toledo 28. And in the Toledo orbit, we are meeting I-475 and US 23, which I recently did a video about. But you guys probably already know that. We're meeting US 20 in Maumee, which for some reason is getting second billing after Ohio 25. East 24 will continue straight. Ohio 25 is with us, and it will veer toward the right there. We split from Ohio 25 right as we cross over 8090, the Ohio Turnpike. Kind of interesting there how the stoplight's right on the overpass. We're meeting Ohio 2. If I ever do a Ohio State Highway, that'll probably be the one I do. This intersection was requested by Tim Hackett because he lived in the neighborhood in this area when he was in med school there. So thank you for that request. We pass by I-75, signed north for Detroit and south for Dayton. We're not signed for anything quite yet. And in the northern Toledo area, we are leaving Detroit Avenue, which we have been on for a while, and getting onto Telegraph Road, which will be the name of the road in Metro Detroit as well. So Telegraph is a long street. And welcome to Pure Michigan. We head into our last state. In Michigan, suddenly we are on North US 24, which I know it's all north-south in Michigan, but I'm still not a fan of. It's an east-west road. Getting a mileage sign here, Monroe 16 and Pontiac 73. I feel like they should probably sign Dearborn because it's bigger than Pontiac, but I get what they're doing here. Monroe is about 20,000 people, and we have M50 heading toward Jackson. We're signed for 2 I-75 and to Pontiac now. Pontiac becomes our last control city. In Newport, Michigan, we pass by the Fifth Wheel Family Dining, and this was requested by Andrew Weishaar because it's good food and has truck parking. Thank you for that request. Looks like a cool place. I wonder if that used to be a Pizza Hut. I looked back to 2008 as far as it would go and didn't show it then. It was still Fifth Wheel Family Dining. We meet I-275. We have interchanges in both directions, but I'm just showing you the more sensible northbound Flints because it's kind of more the way we're going. From I-75, we have an exit for US 24 Telegraph Road, northbound or eastbound 24, but we have no access to I-75 from 24 East, only from westbound 24 or southbound. We're meeting I-94. This was requested by FameyFamous because of this amazing blue bridge and the spew at that interchange. Thank you for that request. And that was not the only request for that interchange. I will show a closer look at that bridge without the sign in the way. This was requested by Hozee Games because the big blue bridge, and because he remembers when they built it when he was a kid, and it used to have a crazy spaghetti junction at this intersection instead of the current one. Here is a look at the actual intersection itself, the interchange that we have now. It is not a crazy spaghetti one anymore. Thank you for that request. We enter Dearborn. I'm just showing you that because it's the biggest city in the Detroit metro area that we go through. And in Dearborn, we meet US 12, which is Michigan Avenue. I've done a US 12 episode, but again, ran out of links. We're meeting I-96, signed for Lansing and Detroit because Detroit is now inbound from where we are on I-96, and Telegraph Road 24 is our only thing on the overhead sign. No Pontiac ever on the overheads. And now we're meeting 696 for Port Huron and Detroit. Could have done that road for this Detroit episode. Would have been a whole lot easier and shorter than this one, but this one's more fun, right? 24 North Telegraph Road. Pass right by the Rusty Bucket, which I'm just showing you because there's a terrible bar in Saigon called the Rusty Bucket. We don't really go through central Pontiac, although we are near M1, which does go right around there, or loops around it. This is the road that will take you over to Pontiac, though. We never meet M1. Orchard Lake Road, Pontiac. And this is the end of US 24 being on Telegraph Road, and we are going to be turning left for North 24. We're out of control cities, so we're going with M15 6 and I-75 8. This is where we meet southbound I-75. This is from 2022. Right now they're doing construction over here, so I'm not sure what's going to look like in the future. And this is our northbound 75 exit, and this is from 2023. Again, I'm not sure the current status of this construction-wise. And once we are beyond I-75, we get an end 24 sign. So kind of weird that they do it beyond 75, but I'm glad that they do bother to do one. This was requested by Andrew Weishaar because the road continues beyond here as Dixie Highway. So thank you for that request. All right, let's take a look at Todd's the way it should be for eastbound US 24. I'm going to say it should be Minturn, Leadville, Buena Vista, Colorado Springs Airport first, then Lyman, Hayes because of I-70, Colby, Hoxie, Hill City, Stockton, Beloit, Clay Center, Manhattan, Wamego, Topeka, Lawrence, Kansas City, St. Louis, Independence, Lexington, Waverly, Carrollton, Moberly, Monroe City, which they skip, then Hannibal, Palmyra, Quincy, Mount Sterling, Peoria, East Peoria, Eureka, Chenoa, Gilman, Watseka, Kentland, Monticello, Logansport, Fort Wayne, Lansing, Toledo, Monroe, Dearborn, and Pontiac. So we go kind of varying between small towns, next small town down the road, and being large towns, because 24 is kind of weird like like that. Sometimes it's a backwoods country road that nobody would ever take unless they were going from one small town to another. Sometimes it's a major thoroughfare that is the main way between large cities such as Fort Wayne and Toledo. Alright, thank you so much for watching this episode of Control City Freak. It's been a fun one to make. It's going to take a long time to edit. I hope the Chiefs do well against the Lions. I hope they're not 0-5 as I make this, 0-2 as I make this, and that's bad enough. Go Chiefs, and until next time, my name is Todd, and keep on trucking.